my internship is at Magna LMV. They are a branch in Liberty, Missouri for the international company Magna International. What our branch does is we build the undercarriages for Ford Transit vans, Chevy Malibus, and just only one Cadillac model. Throughout the facility, there are two main pieces to it, one being the Ford side of production and the other being the GM side of production. So, about Magna. We are an international automotive supplier, so we have multiple plants throughout the world, over 200 manufacturing plants. Out of these 200 manufacturing plants, there are over 168,000 employees. Our company is worth $37 billion and is ranked 21st out of all manufacturing companies in the entire world. But we are ranked first in manufacturing in the United States. So there are multiple departments to the manufacturing plant, one being production and logistics. You could argue that this is the most important piece to the plant. So what this branch does is they actually deal with the inbound shipping of parts and also the outbound shipping of finished goods. So when you receive a part, it is stored in the warehouse, and there are tugger drivers which drive the parts to the production line so the people on the line can weld and work with the products. Then the products that are worked on are sent to different lines so they can make their edits to it and eventually made to the finished goods line. Then they are picked up and put on racks and shipped out to multiple different places, one being KCAP. It's located about 15 minutes away from Liberty, and they're in charge of painting all of the items that we make. So they paint them so they're appealing for the car, just like you see on your everyday car. So there is the other department, which would be the administrative department. This branch oversees all departments and the team leads. So there's a warehouse team lead, there's a shipping team lead, there's logistics team leads. So the GM, Matt Fortier, oversees all of this and makes sure that the customer is getting all their requests and that each team lead is working efficiently. So he'll work with HR and accounting as well on budgeting and just if there's a conflict and such like that. He meets with the team leads on a regular basis. I actually got to sit in on one of the meetings. They were talking just about overtime work throughout the weekend. They need to bring people in to meet their quota for the week. Another department is the human resources department. So the lead of this department is Adam Jelinek. He oversees the hiring and firing in the business. He also works with accounting for budgeting, and he deals with work conflicts. So whether that's an employee conflict or if he gets emails from the customer, he also has to work with those team leads. So about a project I've been working on. One of the projects I was assigned was I had to check part numbers on the shipping instructions on each line. So I had to go around to all the production lines and look at the shipping instructions. I had a list of parts, and each line had the certain part they're supposed to have. If those parts did not match up with the list I had to update those part numbers in DocuCloud. What DocuCloud is, it's just a big document storage website that keeps all of our information safe. So it has the packaging instructions I worked on, part numbers, production, stuff like that, which just is all kept in one place, which makes it easier accessible for people that work there. So what I had to do was, if a part number was wrong, I had to go update that and then reprint the packaging instruction and go hang it back on the line. Here's a few pictures of what I had to do. So the picture on the left here is a map layout of the entire building. So the building is over, I believe, 400,000 square feet, and I had to go to each line and make sure all the primary packaging instructions were correct. So the picture on the right is what a packaging instruction looks like. Basically, it just shows how to pack the item into the finished good rack. So next is a picture on the left. This is a picture of me pulling it out of the laminator. I had to make a new one. And the picture in the middle is actually a picture of one of the lines. You'll see in the top right corner there, hanging on that little flap down thing, is a packaging instruction itself. And then on the right is a picture of me putting the packaging instruction on.
So, how human resource policies go. So, for the hiring and firing side of things, most employees at Magna get hired just because it's a manual labor job. So there's a lot of positions to fill on the production line. They're gonna take basically anybody that walks through that door, they're gonna train them, put them through orientation, and they will hire them. As far as firing goes on that aspect, you really get fired if you don't show up to your shift, or if you call in too many times, or you take too many sick days, which that kind of goes into the sick day leave policy. They have, uh, it's a kind of a low tolerance policy, but you only get 6 missed days, and then you get a written warning, which usually leads to termination of a job if it keeps continuing. That's why that written warning is there. But as far as hiring of skill positions, meaning people that work in the office, so logistics, engineering, that stuff, they oftentimes promote from within. So they're going to hire people that were hired on the production line that usually they're giving positive improvements to the company and they show a good understanding. They don't really hire from the outside too often. They try to keep everything within. They're a very family oriented company. Okay, so for the grievance and conflict resolution, it's fairly simple. So Magna has an open door policy that allows anybody with any problem to go to their HR, assigned HR person, or go to their boss. And at any time, it's an open door policy. You just walk in and you can tell them if you're having a problem or if you have a solution to a problem, stuff like that. As far as grievance goes, it's basically the same for the conflict resolution policy. You go and talk to whoever you need to talk to about the problem, and then it gets uh, worked out throughout those people. Sexual harassment, pretty plain and simple. It's a no tolerance policy. If you uh, if you are accused of sexual harassment, they'll obviously look to see if those accusations are true, and if they are, if you're found guilty, you will be immediately terminated. Oftentimes, about our company's leadership, our organizational leadership chart, this is really the most important leadership or organizational chart for the company because the production line, there are so many people, I don't even think you could make a chart for how many employees we have at the company. But for the leadership chart, at the top is our general manager, Matt Fortier. He oversees basically all operations in the company. He's the head guy. He's the top dog. Below him, Janae Collison. She's our administrative assistant. She basically has all the files for the whole company. She's our secretary, kind of. She's at the front. She plans. She has all the schedules, what's happening from the day to day. She's basically our secretary. Adam Jelinek, I work with him. He is our executive HR representative. So he oversees a lot of stuff, whether it's conflict resolution problems, scheduling, the stuff we do with NCAPs, or he also works with payroll very closely. So below him, there's Wes Marks, Bill Brosh, Bob Clemens, Hector Rodriguez, and Tim Roush. So a lot of these people work in the engineering department. Wes Marks, he's assistant general manager, but he works a lot with logistics and engineering. Bill Brosh, he's a controller, so he's kind of an engineering guy. He works with IT a little bit. And then Bob Clemens, he's our HR manager, so he works very closely with all the HR staff and also work closely with Adam Jelinek. Hector Rodriguez, he is our go-to engineering guy. He's a tremendous engineer. He works a lot with our AutoCAD system, which I will get into later. I've actually kind of been working with that. He works a lot with that system. He's like a master at it. Tim Roush, he's our another one of our assistant general managers. He's kind of an overall guy. He works a lot with production and logistics. Below him is Brad Sutton and Mimel Miller. So Brad Sutton, he's production manager. He runs a lot of the production staff, so to make sure all the parts are being put together from the day to day, we're meeting our quotas. He also runs the fast response meetings at 8:15, which kind of go over. It's every day. It goes over how production did from the day before and what we're looking forward to and trying to complete today. Our world class manufacturing manager. So he works a lot with fixing the lines if they're broken or down. So we have $1 million robots at the plant, and if those robots aren't working, we are a lot less efficient. We can't get parts out, which are very needed. So he works with the manufacturing side and kind of repairing those robots or fixing any of those engineering problems. And then Alexis Grizzle, she's our operations administrative assistant. So she works a lot with operations, which builds schedules, run schedules for the production line, so what they need to build per day. She also works with a lot of the logistics people on getting the parts into the company and what we need to order, stuff like that. And Derek Campworth, he is our MP&L manager, which is our production and logistics manager. So he works a lot with Alexis Grizzle on operations, and he also works with Brad Sutton on production and our general manager Matt Fortier on overall happiness of our customers from the products we have been shipping out. He is the guy I report to. He's a very busy man. He's hard to catch. Jennifer Rogers, she's our IT manager. So IT is a little bit more specific than just computers here at Magna. There's a lot of stuff to do with the robots and if their programming needs to be fixed. So she's a very smart lady. She works closely with that stuff. Scott Trowbridge, he's our quality manager. So he works with quality and making sure each part that is built each day is fits the quality and standard that we want to ship out to our customers. So he's looking at almost every part that goes out our doors, and he is a master at that. He does a great job. That's why we are number 3 in the world for production companies.
So I'm here with Derek Campworth. He's my internship supervisor here at Magna LMV. What is an essential skill that this internship requires?
With this internship, the major skill that is needed would be communication. Because in the logistics field here at LMV, this role in logistics, you're not dealing with just truck drivers, and you're not dealing just with forklift drivers. You're also dealing with supply base. So you got to be able to communicate with the supply base. You got to be able to communicate with your internal workers and your internal support teams as well to make sure that all aspects of logistics is flowing and moving.
Alrighty, and what have you done to master this?
What I've done is sometimes you just got to get uncomfortable. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid of the responses. If you see something and you're interested, go talk in that aspect. Don't be afraid of the response that you're going to get is the biggest thing. So if you've got a question, you got to ask, and you're just going to get more comfortable doing that by asking whether it's the AGM, whether it's the GM, whether it's the supply base, or even whether it's the customer, which is the OEM, Ford or General Motors. Ask them the questions. There are no wrong answers. It's just gaining knowledge and gaining the strength and the understanding to help build who you are, to improve your communication.
Alrighty, and then lastly, what advice could you give me to master this skill?
Like I said in the previous question, is just don't be afraid. There are no questions out there that I guess there are no incorrect questions to ask. Sometimes questions can lead to different things because everybody has different ideas, everybody has a different understanding. How I communicate something to you you might interpret that in a different way than what I intended. So ask questions if you don't understand. Sometimes in the communication side, you got to understand your audience as well. When I say that is, I'm an IT guy by nature, but I'm in the materials world now. I talk technical. Not everybody understands technical. In a logistics world, when you start talking supply chain, some people don't understand supply chain. What is supply chain? How material flows? So you've got to understand your audience to improve that communication, because sometimes you've got to relate it back just to standard apples and oranges. Relate it back to what your audience knows so that the communication is key.
I think you did that in my interview, apples and oranges.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks, Derek.
Well, thank you.